Reggie, just looking through some of your thoughts, comments on the current state of things. In summarizing, I guess you'd say these bull market corrections can be sharp and very extreme, but you think eventually, even in tech, you get a resumption of an upward trend?
Well, good morning. It feels that way. Look, September, October, it's always a little rocky for investors, particularly going into an election cycle. But I feel as though that the mindset of the investor is pretty strong. And I think that any temporary move to the downside will be met with some buying action going into the end of the year.
What do you attribute? I mean, September and October on any year is problematic. What do you attribute what we saw last week? Where did that come from? Was it technical? Is there anything in terms of polling or the predicted? Does it have anything to do with what we know is happening in terms of the election, the Senate, whatever?
Well, I think last week was news of a large investor that may have some option positions going on that was being unwound. So I think that was part of it. And then I think you also had some mindset around just the tech sector without that natural buyer into the marketplace. So, I think, it's fundamental here. But look, I think the work from home situation and the drive to technology delivery, I think we're just in a new investment cycle. I see nothing but blue skies going forward.
Right. Okay. So, David, the jobs report continues to show, progress, but do you see the recovery stalling or indications that the recovery is stalling?
Well, I think that's really the key question, Joe, is that this is evolving into a tale of two very different recoveries. On the one hand, you're seeing a very strong bounce in consumer goods spending. You're seeing a nice inventory build beginning to take place, a little bit better than expected business investment. But then the contrary to that is obviously everything that's going on in the services sector of the economy, where bringing things fully back online is still being impeded by the presence of the virus. And so I think part of what's happening here and part of what's driven the sell-off at the end of last week, particularly in tech shares, was really a recognition that, the easy money has been made, if you will. The easy bounce has occurred. And from this point forward, it's going to be more challenging. You're going to need to see broader participation about the economy. And I think some of these high flyers have just come back down to earth on a bit of a more level playing field with some of those epicenter stocks, which remain very beat up given the uncertainty surrounding the outlook.
So it's after Labor Day. How was your Labor Day, David? You all right? You weren't, you didn't go to a big party, hopefully, but it's after Labor Day.
Definitely not.
All right. This is when we start focusing, on what's coming. It's, I haven't done the math, but it's not too far away. And, I referenced it with Reggie. You got the White House, you got the Senate, and is that going to be the focus of the markets at any time? And we got coronavirus, who knows, legislation, whether that happens in the next couple of weeks. Are these Washington events going to have any impact on the stock market between now and November? And what do you expect that to be?
I think the answer is absolutely. I think near term, we need to see another round of fiscal stimulus come out of Washington. That's where the market is going to be placing its focus, because policy is, in theory, meant to help us bridge the gap between the economy shutting down and the economy coming back online. And if policy fails to do that, I don't necessarily think the stock market will take it in stride. But assuming we do get another round of fiscal spend, I do think then the focus will begin to shift to the election. Markets to me seem willing to trade uncertainty with U.S.-China's relationship for higher taxes under a Biden administration. To me, though, the real question, and you mentioned this earlier, is what happens with the congressional races? What happens with the race for the Senate? What happens with the race for the House? And I do think as we approach November, if we see the probability that a blue wave is increasing, markets may not take that too well, and you'll likely see volatility increase against that type of backdrop.